Hello, and welcome to Unveil HQ, where we uncover what's really happening behind the headlines. Today, we're diving deep into the recent and highly significant decision by NATO to approve Ukraine's use of long-range missiles, specifically Storm Shadow missiles, to strike deep within Russia. What does this mean for the ongoing conflict? And how could this escalate into something far more serious? As the world watches, global powers like China, Russia, and NATO allies are bolstering their military capabilities, preparing for potential escalations. Military might is on display, and the stakes have never been higher. With tensions at a boiling point, the approval of long-range missile use by NATO could shift the balance of power dramatically. Just days ago, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau addressed the media, explaining why Ukraine must be allowed to defend itself.
Vladimir Putin says Russia will be at war with NATO if Ukraine uses long-range missiles deep into Russia. How far into Russia do you think Ukraine should be able to strike?
Vladimir Putin is striking regularly in the heart of Ukraine. He's sending missiles and bombs at hospitals, at daycare centers, at families and communities across Ukraine. And it was his choice to invade a neighboring sovereign nation. His choice to start this conflict, and it could be his choice to end it tomorrow. All he has to do is pull back his troops into Russian territory. But he won't do that. He is not just trying to remove any choice that Ukrainians have around where they want their future to go, remove their independence, remove their sovereignty. He's trying to deeply destabilize the international rules-based order that protects us all, not just in every democracy around the world, but in all countries around the world. Any country with a neighbor with a slightly larger army should be worried if it suddenly becomes allowed to invade and redraw lines on the map. And that's why Canada and others are unequivocal that Ukraine must win this war against Russia. And we will continue to be there to support Ukraine. And yes, Canada fully supports Ukraine using long-range weaponry to prevent and interdict Russia's continued ability to degrade Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and mostly to kill innocent civilians in their unjust war.
Behind closed doors, NATO allies, including the US and the UK, are considering the approval. President Biden, Secretary Blinken, and British PM Keir Starmer are seen discussing the use of these powerful missiles. Their decision could mark a turning point in the conflict, aligning NATO and Ukraine against Russia in a more direct manner.
President. Thank you, press. Please go out the doors and get in. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Prime Minister, have you asked for permission to fire Storm Shadow missiles on Russia?
What about missiles? Should we be able to fire into Russia? Thank you, press.
The political leadership of these Western nations are making decisions that may escalate this conflict into something far larger, pulling NATO into a direct confrontation with Russia. Not everyone in NATO is on board, though. Polish MEP Grzegorz Braun expressed strong concerns during a recent exchange with Secretary Blinken. Poland, a NATO member with close proximity to Russia, fears that approving these missile strikes could escalate the war into something catastrophic for the region.
Blinken, go home. Go home as soon as possible. Get lost. Get lost. We don't want you here. We don't want Polish people paying and dying for your wars. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin has made his position crystal clear. In a recent statement, Putin warned that Ukraine would not be able to arm these long-range missiles on its own. He suggests that NATO would have to assist Ukraine in deploying them, and in doing so, would essentially turn this into a direct war between NATO, the USA, and Russia.
Решение будет принято. Это будет означать не что иное, как прямое участие
стран НАТО, Соединенных Штатов, европейских стран в войне на Украине. Это их прямое участие. И это уже, конечно, существенным образом меняет саму суть, саму природу конфликта. Это будет означать, что страны НАТО, США, европейские страны воюют с Россией. А если это так, то, имея в виду изменение самой сути этого конфликта, мы будем принимать соответствующие решения, исходя из тех угроз, которые нам будут создаваться.
As the world teeters on the edge of a new phase in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the decisions made by NATO and its allies will have lasting consequences. The approval of long-range missile use isn't just a tactical choice. It's a signal of deeper involvement, a step closer to full-scale confrontation. While some leaders see this as a necessary action to defend Ukrainian sovereignty, others warn of the immense risks, the possible fallout, and the escalation into a wider war that could engulf nations beyond Ukraine and Russia. The question now is this: are we prepared for what comes next? With tensions rising and alliances being tested, the global balance of power could shift dramatically. The world watches as NATO, Russia, and Ukraine stand at the precipice of a decision that could either lead to resolution or total chaos. Stay informed and stay vigilant. This is Unveil HQ, where we uncover the truth behind the headlines.